Well, hello, and welcome to our third season of Brainstorms. We are so blessed to have you here with us, and please be sure to let your friends know that we are now on our third season, January 2026. 2026, as we stated in our last podcast in 2025, our motto is we've got lots to fix in 26. So please stay with us on that. This is Brainstorms. This is the podcast for individuals and their families, an individual who's struggling with traumatic brain injury. We specifically, our Resurrecting Lives Foundation takes care of veterans from the global war on terror, that is Afghanistan and Iraq, who have suffered TBI or traumatic brain injury in service to our nation. And so this is information about how it is possible to use medical means or holistic means, anything that can help you become more normalized. And as everybody in the audience knows, I learned most of it with boots on the ground myself with my own traumatic brain injury, which was nothing like our young men and women coming back, but it did teach me quite a bit about how you can get over that. So again, welcome. We're here in our wonderful Sycamore Studios, Plain City, Ohio. We have a great guest, the guest who has been with us every year. So number 3 for Chief Pisano, and I'll introduce him in just a moment. This is a very interesting year because 2026 is the 250th anniversary as our founding as a nation. And I think we all need to pause here at the beginning of the year and reflect on that we are now, we were then, and we will be in the future, the United States of America. One nation under God. That is what we are. That's when we're our strongest. That's when we do most for humanity. That's when we do most for each other. So we're going to be wishing happy birthday to the United States of America by introducing one new collaborative effort that, again, is about uniting the nation, not dividing, uniting the nation in a task, in a call to action. And we'll be talking about that in just one moment. And then an update from Chief Pisano about his other unifying strategy, which is VISTA, Veterans Standing Together Across America, of which we have been placing flags in the various states for veterans all over the state to sign that particular framing of Chief's beautiful screw art of the flags of the United States with little characteristics for each state that they're in. And that's how we'll wind up. So we've got a lot going on. We couldn't do any of this if it weren't for the very generous grant from the Fred and June McMurray Foundation in Los Angeles. We really do appreciate everything their board does for us, everything they do for us. And it's only because of them that we can get this message to you. We are right now going to connect via audio our major collaborative efforts, which are in our San Diego office. And I'd like to welcome retired Navy Chief Joe Pisano. How are you doing in your new studio or gallery, or what are you going to tell us about for 2026?
Well, good morning, Dr. Gordon. Pleasure to be on board again. Yes, I am in a new location. It's the Gallery of Pisano Artistry, moving out of a studio setting. So it'll be just a gallery, and it's right next to a 10-foot thick brick wall. So the connectivity was really challenging to start off with.
Absolutely. We wouldn't know that because you've been there for a few days, it's still moving in, right?
Absolutely. Yes. Trying to get everything set up.
Okay. But for our audience, you're still in this new place, which will be able to view your artwork as a true gallery rather than a working studio, still in Liberty Station, correct?
That is correct. And coincidentally, it's actually right next to the Art of Immortalizing Heroes, the war memorial that has been at Liberty Station for the past 3 years.
Oh, and that's in the command center, and now you're right adjacent to the command center. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, it's very important to us at Resurrecting Lives Foundation because that's also our ancillary and new office. And we really want to thank all of the folks, Lori Albrecht in particular from Liberty Station, who helped us on this journey, and the Naval Training Center Foundation, both Julie Schlager and Kate Rubiklava, who made this happen in very fast nature. I mean, you got the call, you had a day to decide, and you started moving stuff. Is that correct?
Oh, it went like the speed of light,
Yeah.
only because we had talked about it when you're here in San Diego, and then all of a sudden, by the following week, we're already like signing papers.
Right. And it's interesting you brought that up because I was there for a very important reason, which brings us to what 2026 means to us. We were introducing both the Forbes Foundation book that Resurrecting Lives Foundation has been uh, in charge of and writing for the last year, and it's going to be released to the public, Guarding Our Guardians, guaranteeing America's veterans healthcare, education, and employment, all gold standard care to provide them a future. And you did an art piece that we'll ask you to explain here, and we really, really appreciate it. First of all, you were very instrumental in us changing the narrative from veteran to guardian, because we feel like so many things that our veterans go through when they deploy from the military to the civilian world, we forget that they actually guarded everything in our nation, our freedoms, our things. So tell us just a little bit as a veteran what the word guardian means to you.
Well, kind of to your point, it's literally, any group of people that is there to take any blunt of, hostilities, challenges. The veterans, stand to watch and make sure that, they have the quote unquote enemy has to come through them in order to even, infiltrate our, philosophies and ways of life. So Guardian is very, fitting, um, I think, in terms of just redirecting people's viewpoints. And, it's funny because you and I seem to have, you'll be thinking of something and then, it materializes, and the same thing with me. And so when the Guardian art piece came about, you had kind of certain visions and you were able to express them to me, and I had visions. And so we came up with a very nice art piece that I think kind of symbolizes, multitudes of the guardian, persona.
Right. And we'll get to that in 1 second. I wanted to also add that when you say they stand between us and the enemy, what we're seeing in this country, the enemy many times in the last year in 2025 was Mother Nature. And we've got, our National Guard that really has helped us with floods and fires. And so many veterans actually stay in the service industry as first responders and law enforcement in firefighting, that they not only guard us while they're in the military, when they come back to our communities, they guard us there too. And we've got to make sure that transition is done in a very easy order, which I believe that 99% of the United States of America's civilians think that that's just an easy process. But what the Forbes Foundation challenged us and our experts from across the country to do is to show how we can make things in healthcare and education and employment easier with just a few little tweaks to the system, but they're very important tweaks. So getting things like your healthcare record. I mean, you just recently deployed from being in the Navy Reserves to the civilian world. How easy was it for you?
I don't know if easy would be the operative word. I
Okay.
would say more like, how many challenges did you have to overcome and hurdle
Right.
to get to a position where I am today? And again, um, part of that challenge is, when our veterans are seeking, for instance, medical attention, and there's either a roadblock or just it's a lengthy process, then we kind of shy away from getting the help that we need.
Right.
And now we just don't want to do it because we don't have the patience for it
Right.
to, literally withstand it. I mean, our mantra in the military was stand by to stand by, and you hurry up and wait. And so we're kind of done with that part. We want, some service that's more immediate.
Right. And that's very understandable. And I think that the civilian world, which is 99% of all resources, okay, forgets that the 1% who are taking care of us and making sure that we could live our way of life with our freedoms and our dreams for the future, we've got to make sure that they're also able to navigate through a system that most of them, particularly the veterans that we serve at Resurrecting Life Foundation, have never been in the civilian world. I mean, they literally left either high school or college, and neither of those two experiences are the real world by any matter means.
Right.
And they go to the military where a lot of things happen. And then they're just kind
Mhm.
of told, okay, thank you for your service. Good luck. And we're going to change that. And I think that your art piece speaks to that. So if you could just a little bit explain your art piece and your thoughts of putting your art piece, its title together, I would really appreciate it.
Okay, so The Guardian, Wings of Sacrifice is the title of the art piece. It's 2,500 dog tags um, with the battlefield cross made out of about 6,000 drywall screws as the center focal point. But you're drawn into the battlefield cross, and there's a plane going ahead. Hold on. So the battlefield cross is literally in front of the archangel wings, and you kind of
Yeah.
brought that to my attention as far as like the guardian aspect. And so the battlefield cross is embraced by the wings, and um, it's just one of those pieces that when you're standing in front of it, it's because it's so large, it kind of takes your breath away. And then as you start, peeling the layers, just like our veterans, then you see the beauty and the intricacies and even, the heartaches that come with the art.
Right, exactly. And how big are those dimensions? 10 foot by
Oh no, almost.
okay.
It's 6 feet by 8 feet. And then,
Okay.
when I'm lifting it around, it feels like it's about 10 feet. So
Yes,
yes,
that's it looked about 10 feet to me. And we were actually brought together on November 8th at Mount Soledad. If you can explain a little bit about that ceremony, I think that would be helpful too, while we'll be able to embed, video of your art into this podcast for putting it up online. So,
absolutely. So 250-year birth of our Navy and Marine Corps.
right.
I was slated to do an art exhibit that got canceled due to the shutdown, government shutdown.
Hmm.
And so you had asked me, hey, can I just, set up a gathering of maybe 20 to 25, people, kind of just to launch this, the book cover and the book that you are, currently working on.
Hmm.
And lo and behold, a week later, I get an invite from Mount Soledad, and they're asking me, "So, Chief, can you, do a display?" And I said, "Absolutely." Oh, and by the way, Dr. Gordon's flying in. It turns out that your request of 20 to 25 individuals turned out to be over 1,000. So
It was,
I
it was,
think that it was one of those things where I had no idea if I was going to even have something that I could muster up. And then it became huge, a lot bigger than we had, anticipated, but
right.
in a
And
great way.
to our audience, Chief, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but they don't know what Mount Soledad is.
Mm. So Mount Soledad is in San Diego, and it's on top of a mount or peak. And it has a very iconic cross that for decades it was being challenged. And so a private organization purchased just a very small portion of the land to allow that Mount Soledad cross to become a memorial for our veterans.
Right. So, what is the actual mission of Mount Soledad? What is it? Is it another cemetery? Is it a memorial? Is it a museum? Explain to our audience who doesn't live in San Diego, please.
Okay, so the mission of Mount Soledad is literally to guard the memories of our veterans, both alive and fallen. And so this is like a beacon, in San Diego for our veteran acknowledgement.
And so, people purchase what bricks or stones or what is the actual memorial piece that they would be purchasing? And I know they can look online, but it's just a
Right.
beautiful
No,
wall
so
after wall after wall.
Yes, it is. So the walls are covered with plaques of various sizes, and there's also bricks that you can, make a purchase and have your veteran's name highlighted on it. And again, we have people coming all over the country and even internationally that come to see this iconic cross, and then they discover that it is something that veterans are memorialized in their service.
Right, and it was
There's
amazing how easy they picked up on the term guardians as well. We really do thank everybody in their foundation for doing that. We also were, uh, much to my happiness, the Friendly Sons of St. Patrick are a group that will volunteer there. They were very much impressed by the fact that my Irish grandfather had been a World War I pilot. So his name will be up there sometime later this year. But I think it was just the energy in that space for the 1,000 people that were there seeing your artwork. And again, we'll have some photos up there showing the battlefield cross, which is the rifle, the boots. It's just absolutely beautiful. And again, my terminology, because I've always called my fallen heroes, those who are KIA, archangels. They are warrior angels. They are protecting us. They're trying to protect many of them, which I think again the civilian world doesn't understand, are actually protecting the people in the countries where we are. You could see that with the pullout of Afghanistan, where it was, our military that was really protecting the civilians there as well. So I feel that this
yes,
is a really, really interesting piece of art that people will be focusing on. And it is going to be on display as well in the command center, right at Liberty Station.
yes. So for the 250th birth of our nation, part of the celebration is having the Guardian displayed alongside the Art of Immortalizing Heroes in the command center. Looking forward to that just because it'll definitely give people, more visibility of seeing, our tribute to our, guardians, our veterans, and it's a really special piece. It's one of those things where if you can hear the chiming of the 2,500 dog tags,
Mhm.
it literally speaks to you, and you take a pause just to kind of listen. And it's one of those things where you actually start hearing our veterans from it.
Right. And one of the reasons that the Force Foundation, they contacted me as the founder of Resurrecting Life Foundation, and I, the first couple of times they contacted me, I didn't want to write, but finally said, well, if I can call in all of my experts, my military experts, my educators, my healthcare experts, oh yeah, sure, bring them into the book. And the things that you and I talked about is the book, The Guardian, your art piece, The Guardian. This is all part of our suicide prevention strategy, because what we know is this: if somebody has a traumatic brain injury and they kind of fall out of society or never get back into the civilian world and feel like they're a burden to society, that is what is leading to the nearly 5 times more of our guardians, our veterans, taking their own lives, dying by suicide, than even dying in combat. And what our movement is, our movement to provide that gold star, we want them to have the gold standard care of everything when they come back and not have to jump through 50 different hoops just to get their medical records. You know what I mean? It's one of those. And
Oh,
don't you
absolutely.
feel, both as a veteran and as an artist, that all of this kind of helps say, welcome back, we need you, right? I mean, we needed you then, we need you now, right?
Definitely. And speaking about our campaign, our suicide prevention campaign, that is in part what it is, creating an art piece that invites our veterans and our community to work hand in hand together on an art piece that's symbolic of just what you're saying, bringing the community together to help the guardians, transition from either combat to, regular, life, or, military life to now civilian life. So
Right, right.
I really think that the art really helps kind of, nurture that, that call to action.
Right. I think so too. And that's what the whole book is. It literally is going to be a call to action for healthcare providers, for city leaders, for mayors, for governors. And I was so thankful that at that particular event, Mayor Todd Gloria showed up because he's one of our kind of gold standard people who is doing what he can to help move our veterans from the state of homelessness, which we know is not just moving them from block A to block B, but to provide them a future to stay from out of going back to homelessness in the future. And it was very good to see him and, his Veterans Committee together and many community leaders who seem to understand that now. Would you agree?
Oh, completely. And I know that, the mayor definitely has the interest of the veterans um, in his, vision, just because, he comes from a line of veterans,
Right,
his
right, exactly.
grandparents. So to have him, kind of be on the front line with us definitely gives the kind of clout that we need to say, this is important, and here's, Mayor Gloria, standing with us to make
Right.
things happen.
Exactly. We want other mayors. We did have the mayor's office, the deputy mayor of Los Angeles, to help us. We were able to get the ninth secretary of the VA, David Shulkin, Dr. Shulkin, who I really admire, who has been on the inside telling us, here's how easy it is to bridge those gaps. And that's what our
Mhm.
call to action is going to be with each community, each state, and our nation, bringing people together who have skills to train our former military members with new skills. Is that kind of a summation in a sentence there?
Oh, it's a summation in like a yes, absolutely. And you do endless amount of just thinking of ways to do such what you're talking about. How do we improve things? How do we get things in action? And especially when our leaders are the ones that really have that control and
Right.
ability to pivot and shift and
And make it happen.
correct things, fix things. Yeah,
Right.
absolutely.
And these fixes are not things that will cost the country more money. They're actually going to save the country more money, and they're going to save our most important natural resource, our all volunteer military. I mean, it's really going to be amazing. But I had to say, I'm going to have to tell my audience this anecdote because people who know me know that I frequently talk about God being the ultimate script writer. And all of this that we saw, the 1,000 people coming together at Mount
Hmm.
Soledad on November 8th in honor of the 250th birthday, in honor of Veterans Day, it all started when I was filming the documentary Operation Resurrection in Los Angeles in 2010. And I had just flown into LAX. I got on those little transports that you go from, the
Hmm.
airport to the hotel. And I was wearing my logo, our vision of the rifles up with soldiers back to back in the
Hmm.
butterfly. And so there was a gentleman there who had served in the Australian military who said to me, "Why do you Yanks make it so hard on your veterans?" And I'm sitting there thinking, first of all, how does he know? Yeah, he explained it that he
Hmm.
picked up on the logo. And he said, in Australia, when you leave the military, you're given this. And he holds me thing, and it's a gold card. It's a gold card. And I said, okay, well, I'm not sure what that means. He goes, this gold card gets you free health care for the rest of your life. This gold card gives you education. This gold card gets you the first chance at employers in your area. Now, that was 2010. We've looked it up. It is in the book. It hasn't changed very much since then. And I had been thinking of it since then, like, why can't we, take care of those who took care of our way of life? And there are just in the book very simple things that people can do. Like I said, starting with the person who's leaving the military, getting a little jump drive, a little thumb drive of their medical record that can be shared with any
Hmm.
civilian or any VA. So I look forward to this movement coming out. We are now anticipating that the book will be published somewhere in May. That's what we're hoping for, not written in stone just yet. But in the meantime, we've got your art piece out there that people will be seeing at Liberty Station in the command center there, telling them, these are our guardians and they bring us all together under this flag, right?
Absolutely. And the fact that I was able to replicate the book cover by Lance, um, it's huge. It's a 8 by 6 book cover, so that when people come into the gallery, it's hard to not notice it.
Right,
So, and it's
right.
again opening the dialogue of your book that's soon to come out. So, um, this gallery definitely has the opportunities to really showcase what's ahead in 2026.
Yeah, and we want literally the call to action, and we're going to start the first stop on our book tour will be there in Liberty Station. So, Lori, Julie, Kate, thank you so much.
Yeah.
We'll be looking forward to seeing you hopefully in May. So this is our new movement that's going on. We also
Mhm.
have an ongoing movement that started with you back before 2020, I'm sure. Why don't we give a little update to our audience who has been following our VISTA initiative, and that is the Veterans Standing Together Across America, VSTAA. It was your creation, your idea. So if you could refresh our audiences just a little bit about how you got started that, and we'll see where we went last year and where we're going in 26, okay?
Yes, Doc. So, 2018, I created an American flag out of 4,300 drywall screws, put a frame around it to allow veterans to sign it. That was 2018 with about 120 veteran signatures. Fast forward
Wow.
to today, I have 6 frames with over 3,000 veteran signatures.
Oh,
And
amazing.
you had approached me, back in 2023 about a suicide prevention campaign. And I think together we, kind of created the vision of veterans standing together across America, where we create a flag for every state,
Mhm.
put a frame around it, and allow it to grow with veteran signatures. And part of that is to bring the community of each city and the veterans together. Let this community recognize all the veterans, and give the veterans a platform for discussion.
Right, exactly.
Um,
And there's ceremonies that we have. I mean, you're the one who kind of set the standard for the ceremony. We want to mention our U.S. Air Force veteran and former Ohio State Congressman Rick Perales, who coined that phrase, Vista Force. We really
oh,
appreciate him so much for doing so. Um, and,
absolutely.
and our plan was to have ceremonies of what history, honor, and healing, so that not only the veteran but their families can partake in their service and what it meant to each and every state. Correct?
Oh, absolutely. So, speaking of the families, if the veteran is no longer with us, I give the opportunity for a civilian or family member to sign on behalf of their veteran, and
Hmm.
it becomes a very emotional
Yes.
experience
Yes.
for the family member, um, especially if someone that may not have been able to serve for whatever reason. They still embrace the patriotism,
Yes.
and they can do it through veterans. Um, so this past year, 2025,
Okay.
I decided to add something to the overall presentation. It's
Okay.
a send off.
Okay.
When we deploy our troops, whether it be on a ship or other areas, we'll have families and friends gather pierside
Hmm.
and literally wave and blow kisses to our sailors, on their way to go fight the fight. And so I decided, let's do that with this flag.
Hmm.
And so
Okay.
it now becomes, the flag is being deployed to help save lives,
Right.
as opposed to before we say we're, deploying our, troops basically to save the flag. And now it's, the flag's kind of turned to do that. So Missouri and Pennsylvania, I was able to do a send off, the first one being Missouri,
Okay.
and it was a very powerful experience, very patriotic, and it was literally in the midst of a very challenging moment in our society.
Hmm.
And a couple of my friends said, you just got to do it because we need something positive.
Hmm.
And so once I did, they were right, and it there was no incidents, no bad incidents. Everything was just very, love of country, love of, of our veterans. So the send off will now be a part of um, the whole VISTA campaign, and just getting more people on board and getting them excited about helping out, because I think, we often say, it takes a tribe, to raise,
Right.
but it does take a community to, save our veterans.
Right. They save us, and that's why it becomes very strong, very mutual benefit. So tell me a little bit about the team.
Absolutely.
I know that our board ambassador, Stan Crater, was very instrumental in getting the flag there. Where is the flag? Who is taking care of it right now? First in Missouri, and then we'll talk about the crew in Pennsylvania. Okay. But I want to give them credit so anybody in Missouri who's listening to this can get there and take a look and sign the flag.
Yeah, so there's a memorial in Missouri, and so Stan Crater jumped on board, and I guess he was a board member of
He's still our
Resurrecting Life
ambassador for
Foundation.
Missouri. Yes,
Oh, okay.
absolutely.
Yeah, so he literally was like there from the very get go in terms of getting um, what would you say? It's the recognition that it needed to, make its journey. And so once it got to the museum memorial, um, it was a great ceremony, and they're the ones that have the replicated Vietnam Memorial Wall, life size,
Yes.
and that's kind of the iconic, footprint that they are leaving. Is that um, you have the memorial in D.C. and now you have one there, and it's amazing to see. It's breathtaking. So the flag is there, and again, it's getting momentum and signatures and support.
So, Chief, where is this flag for Missouri? Where is it being displayed, and where can people go to find it and sign it and uh, learn about so many different things at the Veterans Museum?
Yes. And again, this was the first time I've ever been in Missouri. So
Okay.
it's called the Missouri's National Veterans Memorial,
Okay.
and it's in Perryville.
Okay.
Um, the address is 1172 Veterans Memorial Parkway. Again, it's a growing memorial. They have different buildings that they're erecting to, literally pay tribute to our veterans. And so the flag is in their main building.
Okay. Very
And I'd
good.
like to thank Stan and Raylin Munoz, who was literally instrumental in just having it there. And they're the guardians of the Vista flag.
Right. And she is a Marine, correct?
A former Marine, yes.
Okay, see, I learned once a Marine, always a Marine. So I just say, Marine. And then the second flag
Yeah,
is
that's
in,
safe. Yeah.
yeah, the second flag is in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania. Our
Yes.
neighboring state in the Industrial Museum. Is that correct?
The industrial, it's the Museum of Industrial History
Yeah, which is
in
really cool
Bethlehem.
from because I loved it because I grew up in Youngstown, Ohio, steel town, and this was another steel town. And the person who was instrumental, you had somebody at Mount Soledad and then somebody at Bethlehem who were able to get that arranged for you. And who were those two very good?
Right. So Rob Trexler from Mount Soledad and Kay Roman are instrumental in the flag being in Pennsylvania.
Oh, and that's great. And that's, we in Ohio are the fifth largest veteran state. There's a sixth, they're right next door. And I really do love the fact that the flag for Ohio sits, in the commissioner's building for us in Youngstown, Ohio, which is the steel town. Okay. And then you were able to get this in Bethlehem, a steel town. And I think that says
Correct.
a whole lot. I mean, that's kind of a metaphor in the universe about why we need to hold on to these people who are steel, who keep our society together, right?
That's absolutely true.
Yeah.
Steel being very strong and, making our country strong through steel and veterans.
Right, exactly. Now,
Absolutely.
here's the deal. You're going to have a
Yes.
couple of states. You're going to be continuing to do your art. And I know you have another project for the 250th birthday that we'll get to maybe at a different podcast. But in the meantime,
Yes.
how are people going to be able to reach you? What if you get a group of people in the States? For instance, I've been contacted by some people in Tennessee, in the Nashville area. I've also been contacted by a group in Phoenix, in Arizona. How do people reach you and get this process started? If you could give us the Cliff Note version, we'd love that. And then we will also have links to it on our website.
Right. So the best way to get a hold of me in terms of the VISTA campaign is through Veterans Standing Together Across America.org or your website, resurrectinglives.org.
Okay.
Since I'm in this move from studio to gallery, right now it's pretty challenging. Other than just reaching out to those two different websites
Right.
at the moment, but I will have things back online as soon as this transition is done.
Right. Well, we can tell the transition has been a toll. I mean, particularly the fact that we got in here for this podcast, audio visual, way in advance, and found out that you're literally in a vault. So, but we were able to work around here at the studio. We appreciate you being on this call to work around. Again, we will be having the video so that our audience will be seeing this in real time. And I'd just like to take this time to tell everybody, please stay tuned, because we have a lot going on in 2026. And our nation right now, as we could tell on the Mount Soledad event November 8th, is hungry. We are hungry to work together. We are hungry to unify again. And what I really have noticed, because I'm not a historian, but some good friends of mine, the Emersons, and watching some of the good authors who write about founding fathers like Brian Kilmeade, we know that veterans, people when they leave our military, have never really had an easy journey to success after that. Now, some can, for sure. George Washington became the president, etc. But basically, we've never been that good at helping our guardians, our protectors, achieve the equal amount of success or more in the civilian world. And that is a challenge I've got for all of our audience in 2026. So we're going to need a bigger audience, okay? We need a bigger boat here, folks. Please feel free to contact us at info@resurrectinglives.org if you've got an idea or you want to do an event in your city, in your town, in your state, because our goal is next year, in the January 2027, to say, thank you, look what we have done. So with that, I will ask you, Chief, any parting comments here?
No, and again, thank you for the podcast, and apologize for the technical difficulty of living in a vault now.
Oh yeah, well now we know, and we'll still get the video to our audience. I want to thank everybody for being with us
Absolutely.
on year 3. Remember, we've all got lots to fix in 26, and we look forward to seeing you next month.
If you are thinking about harming yourself or attempting suicide, tell someone who can help right away. Call 911 for emergency services. Go to the nearest hospital emergency room. Call or text 988 to connect with the 988 Suicide and Crisis Lifeline. This podcast is made possible thanks to a grant from the Fred and June McMurray Foundation, and it's produced by the Resurrecting Lives Foundation at the Sycamore Studio. Music is written, performed, and graciously provided by Tim Beckley. Remember, when you work toward brain injury recovery, it is best to journey with a friend and keep your gait steady and your spirit strong. Finally, always seek shelter from your storm.
Baghdad, the Basra, the Boston, the Bakersfield. The hottest battle I ever fought is raging inside of me. My brain has been battered, scrambled and rattled, and no one knows what's going on.